Once upon a time, there was a man named Hara who lived in a small town with his wife and 2 children. Kia was hard-working and always tried different businesses to support his family, but somehow nothing ever worked out for him. The reason whatever business Harriet started, his clever neighbor Matt would copy him and somehow managed to attract more customers. If Harriet started selling vegetables, MOV would start selling them, 2 at a lower price. If Harriet opened a tea stall, MAV would open one next to it and make sure his tea tasted better. One day, Harriet sat outside his small house, looking worried. His wife Seda sat beside him. What's wrong? She asked gently. What else? Hurry aside. Whatever business I start him have copies it and takes away all my customers. I don't know what to do anymore. Seda thought for a moment and said, why don't you try selling pumpkins? They're easy to grow and no one else is selling them in the market. Encouraged by his wife's suggestion, Harriet decided to give it a try. The next day, he bought a cart full of fresh sweet pumpkins and set up a small stall in the market. He stood proudly and began calling out, come sweet pumpkins for sale. You won't find better pumpkins anywhere else. At first, people gathered around Hara's stall. His pumpkins were large and fresh, and customers were impressed. It seemed like Hara's luck was finally turning. He started making good money and returned home that evening with a wide smile on his face. But Hara's happiness didn't last long. The next morning, when Harriet reached the market, he saw Madhav sitting right next to him, selling pumpkins, and not just any pumpkins. Madhav was selling them at a cheaper rate. Come sweet pumpkins for just 20 rupees each. MAV shouted. Slowly, Hara's customers started walking toward Madhav's stall. Hara's face fell as he watched his business collapse right in front of him. That night, Harriet sat at home frustrated. Why does he always have to copy me? He said angrily. Seda sat down beside him. Don't worry. Why don't you try selling fish instead? Not everyone knows how to handle fish. It might work this time. Harriet, fine. I'll try one more time. The next day, Harriet went to the river, bought fresh hillsaw fish, and set up a stall in the market. Fresh hillsaw fish, only 500 rupees per kilo, he shouted. People gathered around his stall. Wow, fresh fish at a good price, someone said. Just when Harriet thought things were getting better, Madhav showed up again. The very next day, MAV started selling hillsaw fish too, at 450 rupees per kilo. Fresh hillsaw fish, only 450 rupees per kilo. MOV shouted once again. Hara's customers left him and went to Madhav. Hara's face turned red with frustration. That night, Harriet threw down his towel in anger. I've had enough. No matter what I do, MAV ruins it. Seda smiled knowingly. Don't worry, I have a plan, and this time he won't be able to copy you. Curious, Harriet leaned forward. What's the plan? Seda whispered the idea into his ear. Hara's eyes widened. This could work. The next morning, Har hired some construction workers and built a large, strong platform above his house. Once the platform was ready, he brought several goats and started raising them on the platform. A few days later, MB's wife noticed that Harriet was no longer selling anything in the market. Curious, she visited Hara's house. Bobby, why isn't Harriet coming to the market these days? She asked. Seda smiled. We started a new business, fish farming. MB's wife frowned. Yes, we built a platform above our house and started raising fish there. The fish are growing fast. Soon we'll sell them and make a lot of money. MB's wife ran home and told him everything. If Harriet can do it, why can't I? Madhav said proudly. The very next day, and built an even bigger platform above his house and bought more fish than Harriet. I'll sell my fish before Harriet and make more money. Madhav grinned, but then the monsoon arrived. Heavy rain poured down for days. The weight of the platform, filled with more water, weakened the platform. One night, there was a loud crack. Madhav woke up to find the platform collapsing. The goats fell through the roof and water started flooding his house. Madhav and his wife stood helplessly as the house filled with water and debris. The next day Madhav saw Harriet standing at his door. Smiling, copying someone isn't as easy as. It looks right now, face the consequences. Of your own actions you should not be. Jealous of others, and all this was. Planned by my wife, now do you understand? The whole game, Harriet then tells him. About raising the goats and selling them. For 90,000 rupees. So you were raising. The goats at such a high cost without. Even realizing ing it that evening, Harriet sold his goats for 990,000 rupees and returned home with his pockets full ca. Smiled, finally things worked out, Harriet. Nodded because this time I didn't copy anyone, and no one could copy me from. That day on Madhav learned a valuable lesson. Success comes from originality, and hard work not from copying others. And as for Harriet, his business continued to grow because now he knew the secret. To success lay in thinking smart, not just working hard. Success comes not from copying others, but from originality. Hard work and smart thinking. Harriet faced repeated failures because Madhav kept imitating his business ideas, but when Harriet used creativity and strategic thinking, he finally succeeded. The story teaches that blindly copying of others may bring temporary success, but true and lasting success comes from understanding your strengths, doing your own research, and finding unique solutions. Hard work combined with smart thinking is the key to staying ahead